Let's stop the cap for a second, that is. And we need to stop the cap and talk about why the world is on the verge of a blowout. They want you focused on 20% of oil in the Middle East. They want you scared of gas prices and keeping you entertained with all the latest celebrity gossip, all the latest celebrity and podcast bullshit. They want you to remain focused on that. But that's just the shiny object they waving in your face. So you don't look at the 100% of fraud that's happening right in your motherfucking backyard. Let me give you a little history. I'm going to use terms like syndicate for government, European, the elite, so you know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to use terms like the orange man for you know who, and the island for you know what. Come on, man. Those who have ears, hear. Let's get to this shit though. Before the syndicate, the British, French, Spanish empires of old, But before they could find anything over here in the Americas, even begin they search and process, they had to deal with the real movers and shakers. The motherfuckers that was out here laying law down globally for hundreds of years at that. And we are talking about the Ottoman Empire. Y'all refer to them as, the Moors, the Moroccans. But if you understand the history on the term Moor, you will understand why I don't use that term. It's a fucking European label, my dude, to define us. See, we didn't never define ourselves by their terms. Let me just put that shit out there for you. But I'm going to continue on with my story. Now, our people were the original landlords. Don't get caught up on the names and the titles, because it's all about the people, man. And that's where they get us at, too. That's how they continue to finesse us. We so worried about names and titles, and they created all this shit. That shit don't mean nothing. Just make sure you focus your mind on the truth. You get into the core of any issue. Fuck all the bullshit. You want to get to the root. Now let me continue. They set on the Navy checkpoints, and that's our people. And they told the Europeans, y'all ain't going nowhere. Y'all can't move nowhere unless you pay the motherfucking tax. They was controlling everything, not to control shit just for the sake of, but to protect, because you see what happened. Let's not play dumb here. America has never been great. Once we lost it. Come on, people. But let's get back to the story. The syndicate. Remember? The syndicate knew about America the whole time. They knew this wasn't a new world. It was the old world. The Holy Land. The one that the Bible talks about. You know what I'm saying? They stole this shit from us. But they couldn't touch it just yet. Because our people standing firm on protecting this motherfucker and enforcing the law. The early syndicate didn't pay tribute to Morocco to stop the pirates. You don't get 20% of your national budget to pirates. You pay that kind of money for silence. Come on now. We've seen this play way too many times, my people. Don't play dumb now. But you pay that shit for silence. The Europeans was paying the old landlords, our people, to keep quiet, because you have to think they've been fighting wars for decades, hundreds of years. So once they finally had a stronghold on our people, they exploited the ones left still standing before they actually conquered them over there, before they got to the Holy Land here. See, we was playing global chess. We was the first ones playing chess on 3 different boards. We taught these motherfuckers. And you see why it's chaos today. But let me get back to the story. But they paid the ones left to keep their mouth shut about what was in the real Holy Land, the Americas, while they finish rewriting the goddamn history books. These motherfuckers are crafty. That's why I give them respect now. Do not get mad. You gotta respect a play. I was always told, don't hate the player, hate the game. See, but I respect a motherfucker if they pull it over and succeed, you know? But you are looking at the Syndicate Act as the front. They paid the old world landlords to keep their mouth shut, look the other way. The ones left remaining that they didn't conquer, while they dismantled the existing advanced civilizations in the Americas. By the time the world realized what was happening, the evidence was gone. And the story had been changed already. Why you think it's so hard for us to get certain information? And it always go back to they talking points that's approved by their mainstream community, man. Why don't y'all ever search the ones that on the record disagree with these people and they have credible facts to prove what it is that they talking about? Come on, my people. But I'm going to get back to the story. The Bering Straits story, one of my favorites. It was a real story, but the way they told it is backwards, which makes it cap. Because they left out a little big ass secret that is viewed here as a smokescreen. By teaching that everyone migrated here from Asia, the group effectively committed identity theft on a global scale. It made you forget, and it stripped you, the original inhabitants, that is, of their true status as the masters of this land, and reclassified them as African slaves to justify taking everything they had built. That's some cold shit, and that shit infuriate our people. Ain't no way we should be out in the streets fighting each other like we enemies right now, when we have a real enemy. This has been the devil in our story for centuries. But we forgot because we allowed them to educate us, my people. But I'm here to break that mental chain for you. But I'm going to get back to the story, though. The Europeans was busy scrubbing the physical landscape. And we all know, come on now, let's not play fools. and rewriting the books to make it look like they discovered an empty wilderness. Now, this is when we have to admit that people really are sheeps. They tell you right in their history books that people were here when they discovered it. So already, you know their story is cap. Come on, bro. Like, let me run some bullshit on you like this. Out here in everyday life. And I could bet my bottom dollar you don't fucking believe me. You gonna tell me get my goofy ass on, man? Come on. Why do you believe these motherfuckers, man? But I'm gonna get back to the story. Once the history was rewritten and the new identity of America was locked in, the payments stopped. The U.S. then used the very military. Hold on real quick. Hold on. Doing a lot of things at once. Okay. Now I'm back to it. But they used the very military power it had built up during that silence to crush the gatekeepers they no longer needed. The foundation of the country wasn't built on a struggle for freedom, but it was on a massive funded operation to erase an old world and install a new one. As you can see, there's very little traces of our people left because they keep them under lock and key. And one of those lock and keys are known as the Smithsonian. Once the Europeans broke the Ottomans and moved into the West, they had a problem. The copper-colored people were already here. They couldn't have you knowing you were the original masters, because no, they were really owe you then, and they got to get the fuck out the way. They would have to leave, because of course we want our shit back, right? So they invented the Bering Strait idea, but they didn't invent it. You got to think, they've done these things all throughout history, my people. We invent something, they take claim. But in this case, they took an actual event, like they always do, and hit that bitch with the R. Kelly and remix it. Pied Piper style. Come on, man, let's wake up. They told you. Everyone walked over on an ice bridge from Asia, which actually happened. It did. But see, they did a switcheroo. That's the part they're not telling you. They used the face of the modern East Asia to represent our people. But the truth is, which is well documented, my people, ancient China was full of copper-colored people with woolly hair who were masters of navigation, masters of many other things as well. They were our people. By whitewashing the history of Asia, they stole a copper-colored identity. They told you that if you're black, which ain't even a fucking skin color, but I'm not going to get into that, because if you understand the old English meaning of black, it means pale, man. Do I look pale? But you know who do look pale, right? But I'm going to continue on with the story. But they try to tell us we just a visitor, or we a fucking slave from a boat from another continent we never been to, when our peoples was brought up here from the motherfucking sandbox, my dude. It was brought here from the sandbox. Brought up, I meant. But I'm moving on with the story. They buried the fact that the oldest skeletons found in the Americans show Negroid features, my boy. Look this shit up and prove me wrong. not East Asian. And this is well known. Don't get caught in the mainstream science, archaeology, and all that bullshit, because that's a club. Because there's a bunch of more credible individuals who disagree with them and have well-documented work that aligns with what I'm talking about right now. And they have disagreed and debated the mainstream community for years. I am telling you, we are that thing. They didn't want you to realize the people crossing that bridge look just like you and I. In 1909, as a matter of fact, the Arizona Gazette, and I urge you all to look this up, because many different things happened around this time that they could have used, that the public was fully interested and engaged in. But they used this particular story that they tried to call a hoax. But they reported on an underground Egyptian city in the Grand Canyon. High-tech copper tools, mummies, hieroglyphs, the works. And what did the syndicate do? They didn't celebrate it. They called it a fucking hoax. And these motherfuckers so cold, they turned the Grand Canyon to a national park. National park is just code for federal evidence locker, because they got all our shit locked down now. The proof of who we really are and who we come from, our ancestors. They renamed the peaks, the towers of Set and Isis temple. Why name a natural rock after an Egyptian god? Think about that. These are new people from a new world come way across the ocean just to start renaming everything over here after Egyptians. Come on, man. Think about that. Infatuated? Fatal attraction? What is it? Why name a natural rock after an Egyptian god? Because if you name it after a myth, people won't look for the physical evidence of their own ancestors. You see the orange man on the news today, right? Ordering naval blockades, talking about world extinction, world extortion. Saw what they did down there in South America. Very same thing they talk bad about Russia for doing with Ukraine. But they want you to think he's a prophet. But look at the strings. Look at his strings being pulled right in front of your face. He isn't moving based on policy, principle, value. He's moving because the syndicate has the receipts on his orange ass. Back in February, to be exact, 2025, his administration promised to release the Full Island files, where the elites played. They teased us with phase 1 blinders. We're gonna release it. We're gonna do this. Ah, la 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 la. But then they temperature change, energy change, quick as fuck. Gotta ask yourself why. Because those files ain't just a list of names. They are the syndicate's insurance policy. You know how these motherfuckers operate. But we too busy allowing these people to manipulate our minds by calling the truth conspiracy theories and the lies truth. Come on, my people. It's time to wake up out of this shit. They use these files to keep the orange man in line. Whenever he gets too close to the America is the old world truth, or tries to break the syndicate's banking monopoly, and you see the moves he's been making and the kickback he's been having right in front of your face throughout his whole campaign. But they pull on his motherfucking leash and you see it right before your eyes, and he changes fucking tune. Why no more talk about the deep state, people, and nobody even saying this shit or even mentioning it? Complete 180. They are forcing him into this war in the Middle East to protect the fake Holy Land and keep your ass off the forbidden zones in the Grand Canyon. Look at the complete 180 he did. And you gotta ask, why no more talk about the deep state? And I'm gonna say it again. To understand the blackmail, you have to understand who is holding the files. And they are the financial gatekeepers who claim the title of the chosen. And you hear what I said. They claim the title of the chosen. They created a cap Holy Land, and I call it a cap Holy Land because it's just that, a cap Holy Land, because that shit didn't exist before 1948, and this is documented. But nobody bats an eye why the fuck that is, or let alone the fact that Europe is not even a fucking continent really, and is still connected to Asia. But we not gonna get sidetracked here. Nobody bats an eye. But I'm gonna get back to the story though. The official Holy Land is Cap. That you would never look for the real Holy Land, which is right here in Arizona. They use the Orange Man as their shield by making him the face of the war. They ensure that if the public gets angry, they blame the Orange Man instead of the syndicate holding the puppet strings. They are using him to secure the Middle East while the Smithsonian continues to bury the black mummies and the technology in the Americas. Egypt is here, my people. Right in Illinois, which is known as Egypt. All you got to do is look this shit up. Just try to prove me wrong. That's all I ask you. And look past that mainstream bullshit, because there's many credible people that disagree. This is all I say. You have to start checking the sources of the information you Google. Google is not all bad. Just learn how to fact check. But this is exactly why they silenced the cultural icons. When my boy Ye, y'all know, when they tried to get down on him, y'all remember, when he came telling y'all the truth. He say, I can't be anti this or that because I'm actually a Semite, and that shit went over y'all head. He was exposing the identity swap. He was telling y'all who we really are. He was telling you that the people in the group are imposters who stole your identity in your land. The syndicate uses the island files to threaten everyone from Hollywood to the White House. If you don't play the group game, your files get leaked. Simple as that. If you do, you stay in power. You rich, famous, you know how this shit work. Call it Illuminati, call it whatever you want. We know what's happening here. You remember when Ye had the media in a frenzy about him and one of his cousins doing the unthinkable, the nasty, you know. Ye exposed that shit in one of his songs. They tried to con my boy. That's why Ye put that information out there like that. And that shit went over y'all head. But he said it in a song. Ain't no motherfucker gonna con me. That's the realest shit ever, man. Give my boy his flowers. Please. The Orange Man is playing the game right now because he knows the syndicate can end him with one fucking dump of information of those files. The war you see on TV today ain't about oil, and it ain't about democracy. It's about stopping the truth from being revealed. This has been the all-time biggest truth of all time, and they've been loading us with all this bullshit to hide this one fact, because this resets everything, and it's playing out right now in front of your face. It's about stopping the truth from being revealed. The syndicate is terrified. The blackmail machine loses its value. Everything stops. The Orange Man and the others start talking. If they start talking, the world finds out that you are the original owners of the earth. The Orange Man already told you in fucking multiple videos back in the day that those don't look like Indians to him. And y'all let that shit go over y'all head. The whole birthright citizenship fiasco, y'all let that shit go right over y'all head. If the Orange Man is so independent, as people think he is, why did he stop the release of the Island Files the moment he took the office and he backtracked on the deep state? And why is he using your tax money to protect a cap holy land across the ocean while he keeps your actual holy land in Arizona behind a military fence? Look up the 1786 Treaty of Tripoli and the treaty with Morocco. The answers are there. The answers have always been in the past. You're just being blinded by titles and all this other bullshit and the semantics that they purposely put in there to confuse you. But look up these treaties. In the early days of the Republic, the U.S. was paying 20% of its entire national debt in tribute, so they call it, to the Ottoman-backed Barbary states. And that's over there, the old Turkish people, the real Turkish people. They tell you it was for protection from pirates. You don't get 20% of a nation's wealth to random thieves, my dude. Since when America negotiate with terrorists? Think about that. See, you could keep telling a lie to cover another lie to cover another lie, but eventually you will be exposed, because you're not going to be able to remember every detail of every lie you ever told. And when you're dealing with somebody that actually knows how to pay attention, when you really get exposed. The Ottomans held the keys, my people. They held the keys to the Atlantic and the secrets of the old world and the Americas. That payment was the world's first NDA. Prove to me that the first Americans weren't the people you call Negro today. Look at the skeleton mummy Luzia, the 11,500-year-old skeleton found in Brazil. And look at the arguments from other scientists beyond that mainstream bullshit. Or look at the Naya remains. Look also at the scientists and archaeologists that disagree with the mainstream ones and align with what I'm telling you. But peer-reviewed archaeological studies by experts like Walter Neves as well prove the earliest people of the Americans look just like you and me. Or they term Astro Melanesian African Negroid features, motherfucker. Not East Asian. Not East Asian. Not East Asian. Modern science admitted that ancient populations in Southeast Asia and China, like the Anu Negritos, were dark-skinned with woolly hair. The group swapped the pictures in your textbooks to make you think you're from a fucking slave boat. Make you think you from a whole nother continent, my dude. But you from right here on this fucking soil. You the architect of this soil. If the 1909 Grand Canyon find was a hoax, why is the location still under a federal gag order? Explain that, please. Let me guess. The bullshit they give you about uranium, right? The April 5th, 1909, Arizona Gazette reported on the Smithsonian's discovery of Egyptian Tabethan artifacts in the canyon. The Smithsonian denies it. But look at the map. The Tower of Set, Isis Temple, Horus Temple. These aren't nicknames. They are markers. Why is it a federal crime to enter those forbidden zones if it's a hoax? Why does the Smithsonian, which is a government chartered monopoly, have the legal right to seize any public land? Please explain that to me. The government do work for us, right? According to the Constitution, right? Who has the power? I thought it was the people, right? And I thought we were the people, right? This is a democracy, right? Why ain't that public information? Because they aren't protecting nature. They are protecting the narrative. The big lie, as Trump called it. The real big lie. In January 2026, under the Epstein Files, Transparency Act, millions of pages were released. Yes. But the Department of Justice admitted they were staggering the rollout. Why? Was the release delayed? You gotta ask. Because those files are the syndicate's insurance policy. They use them to force leaders into Middle Eastern wars to protect the Cap Holy Land, to ensure nobody looks at the actual Holy Land in Arizona. Do y'all remember when all those stars, right when Kamala ran, nobody was supporting, nobody was doing anything, stars was coming out left and right talking about some, oh, we don't get into politics, we don't do this. The minute the feds or whoever got their hands on the Diddy tapes or whatever, everybody just surprisingly started supporting Kamala. And that shit just went over people's head. Nobody ever looked further into it. They showed you right there. The orange man isn't leading. He's surviving, being exposed. He's doing what he can to not be exposed. Stop waiting for the news to tell you who you are. The news is the syndicates and forces. Come on, they work for the very people that's doing all this bullshit. So how can you believe anything on that? They created a cap state across the ocean to distract you from the cover-up in your own backyard. Stop calling yourself a visitor or a minority. You are the original majority. Research the reclassification of Negro to Black to African American. It has to be studied. It was a legal trick and one of the greatest finesse to strip you of your rights, your indigenous land rights. Demand to know why your tax money guards ISIS temple if it's a host, while you're told it's just a rock. It's nothing there, people, but it's heavenly guarded, and your ass will get locked up if you take your ass over there being nosy, but it's nothing there. They didn't just steal your history. They stole your mind. But once you see the strings, the puppet show is over. The puppet fucking show is over. And I tell you, prove me wrong, motherfucker. Prove me wrong, motherfucker. Yeah, prove me wrong, motherfucker. Cause we going hard all year long, motherfucker. Yes, we are. Cause I want you to prove me wrong, so like and follow me, motherfucker. Like and follow me, because I'ma give you what they not giving you, motherfucker. Peace out.